Hey, Eastern Oregon, welcome to this November 10th version of AM Live on EOA, your connection to Eastern Oregon. Hey,
What's up?
how you doing?
It's first Friday.
Oh, man, I'm feeling it this morning.
First Friday.
Yeah. So we just got lots going on. Sorry, we're starting a little bit late. There's just a ton going on.
Elections are finally over.
Yeah.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah. And the two shows that we did, one on Monday night and then one on Tuesday night, and man, it was just so unusual because the results kind of dribbled in late. And
yeah, the machine broke down.
Yeah,
they had a backup plan for it.
Yeah,
and like people talk about the what's the word, if the votes count is good or not.
Yeah,
you can go back, the integrity of the election in Union County. You can go back, I think last year. You just have to search it on our Facebook page, and you can watch a video of exactly what they do here in Union County. And Robin Church runs a tight shit.
Yeah,
I promise you that.
Yeah, no, and
100%.
I got to thinking about that. Can you imagine trying to accumulate the votes manually? I mean,
they used to.
Well, I know you got a big board, and somebody goes, okay, this, all right. And, you have a hash mark and
I sat there for about a half an hour and watched how they kick votes out because of signatures.
Oh, yeah.
So they match your signature up to your signature on the registration card.
Uh-huh.
And if it's like obviously off.
Yeah.
Into a pile. They make a photocopy, put it into this box, and then Well, I think you can revote.
Well, I think they contact those people and but
there are some of them where you're just like, dude, like, is that even the same person? Like, their signature on their registration card, and then you're looking at their like.
Well, it's funny because when I started Brent Clapp Productions all those years ago, I used that's my real signature, and so then when I used that as the logo, and I thought, well, somebody now could use my real signature. I mean, anybody could use it, and so then I changed it. It's kind of a little bit like what it used to be when I was a kid. And so there are times
I think you're just paranoid.
So then there are times when I'm like, I wonder if I can't remember if it's the signature on my logo or if it's
if somebody wanted to figure out your signature, they could do it in other ways.
It's probably lots of places.
Right? They could probably find it. And, I mean, like the people nowadays are pretty crafty when it comes to stealing people's identities, right? They know what to do.
Yeah.
Oh, should we talk about sports?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm not there. Here we go. No, that's not it. Just go.
No, just
here.
Sports for this weekend. Tomorrow, 6:00 p.m., Community Stadium. You got your LeGrand Tigers versus Pendleton in the quarterfinals. Quarterfinals. 8 teams left. And, man, if you saw the first game, it was a battle. I don't think we're going to have rain tomorrow. I think it's going to be pretty clear. It's going to be cold. Man, it's going to be it's just going to be a battle. Number 2 versus number 7. First time we played them, they were number 2, and we were 4. We'll see what happens, It's all right. Let me make a prediction. I always do predict. I'm going to say LeGrand 41, Pendleton 31.
By 10, 41-31.
By 10.
Interesting.
That's the lowest point spread that I've given all year.
Yeah.
I even said in the first game it was going to be 2 touchdowns.
Wow.
But I'm saying on turf in good weather, we're going to win by 10.
Okay.
Also tomorrow night, 7:30 p.m., the EOU will play their opening round. Well, so it's their opening round for them. It's the second round of the CCC tournament right here at Quinn. If they win that game, they play in the championship on Thursday, on Saturday. We're already CCC champs. This is the CCC tournament, which we haven't won since 2016.
Oh, wow.
We've won the CCC regular season a few times since then, but we haven't won the tournament. And Corbin has been the team, and they're probably who we're going to play on Saturday. They're fourth in the country. They dropped a spot after they lost to Evergreen a couple weeks ago. So we have two of the top 5 teams in the country, with EOU being 1 and Corbin being 4 in the CCC playing this weekend. There's games all day tomorrow if you want to go watch volleyball. They start at 9, 12:30, 4, 7:30.
Wow.
Up there at Quinn Coliseum. And it's all CCC teams. It's the top 8 teams that qualified. Let's see. EOU football plays on the road on Saturday at Southern. It's the last game of the year. They're 1-8 right now. Maybe they could squeak this one out. I hope so, because the running back on Southern is one of the kids that was in the East-West Shrine game. And I talked so much smack to him about going to Southern and not coming to Eastern, because in the preseason they were ranked behind us.
Yeah.
And now they beat us here.
Yeah.
And he was player of the week that week.
Oh, wow.
So he probably had a chip on his. He's probably like, I'm going to show old Dodgy why I went to Southern. Well, his dad's a Hall of Famer there at Southern, and so it was like, yeah. So I hope we can pull off a win to end the season, and then we're moving into wrestling. Wrestling already started, actually. The first week for the CCC, EOU had the men's and women's wrestler of the weekend, Morgan Shines and Kyle Knutson. So, in basketball, it's indoor time.
All right.
It's time to stay warm.
Yeah.
But tomorrow night, 6, live on EO Live TV. If you don't want to go sit out in the cold, we'll be broadcasting it.
Right here.
Right here.
Big game.
Huge game.
Yeah. All righty. Well, hey, let's look at the weather outside. It's been brisk and cold. Yeah, it's been like, let's see what Gabe has for us.
Heading into the day on Thursday, mid to the upper 30s will be the story for much of us, with that exception for mid 40s in Pendleton, that cold spot on the map, holding below freezing in Burns, where we will see some spots of fog early on as we'll have more clouds to start the day up towards the north. But as the day goes on, lots of sunshine into the afternoon across our entire region. Heading into the day on Thursday for LeGrand, it looks like this will start out right around 30 degrees at the 8 o'clock hour. More clouds and sun, beginning with a light southerly wind flow that will continue during the day as those winds turn to the east by the evening. Upper 30s to 40 degrees will be the high temperature right around midday. We see abundantly clear conditions returning late day into the evening, allowing those temperatures to drop into the low to mid 20s by the 8 o'clock hour. But then we see increasing clouds overnight, so we'll probably only drop into the upper teens for low temperatures. Lots of gloom for your Friday as highs hold into the 30s, bringing a slight chance for a few snow flurries late into the evening.
All right. And a new shout out to our weather sponsor, Valley Insurance. They have an office downtown now. And just reminding you that open enrollment runs until January 15th. And they can help you with that health insurance questions. All right. So, hey, today we're having a special Veterans Day emphasis, and my friend Dean Varney is going to be with us. He is a veteran, and he's going to talk about his experiences, and then also another veteran that he has been reading about and following. And so we'll be right back right after this.
Want to keep yourself informed with relevant news and events in Eastern Oregon but don't have much time on your hands? Well, here on EOA Live, we pay attention to what's happening in Eastern Oregon and deliver the news in 2 minutes or less on our evening news roundup. You can expect to get your news delivered right to your Facebook and Instagram feed every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 6 p.m. We'll keep you in tune with Eastern Oregon, and you can count on that. EOA Live, your connection to Eastern Oregon. Now on Roku.
Eastern Oregon's weather can oftentimes seem unpredictable. 1 minute it'll be raining, then it'll be sunny and wonderful, then snowing and then sunny, then the next it'll be raining cats and dogs, literally. So how do you prepare yourself for such flip-floppy weather? Well, by tuning into EO Live Weather with me, Gabe Curtis, of course, the most accurate weather forecast in all of Eastern Oregon. I'll keep you informed with daily weather updates that can take an in-depth look through the next 7 days. Because if cats and dogs are literally going to fall from the sky, you will want to know. EOA weather right here on EOA Live, your connection to Eastern Oregon. Now on Roku.
Run another one and then I'll get the one.
Let's see. All right, we're back. This is a gremlin day. Oh, and the camera's not working here. Yeah, so is it there? No, so go to the wide shot, which is 4, I think. Yeah. So it's a gremlin day. It's one of those things that happens every once in a while. So you know what? We'll be right back. We're gonna go to one more commercial because I want to get Dean's camera working. So let's play. We'll be right back. All right, we're back. Sorry about that. How are you?
Good, doing good, Brent.
Good. Yeah, it's just like saying how it's just sometimes the days are just kind of the tech issues. As you can see, this is like a humongous setup. Most people would have somebody in a control room changing cameras and chasing down things. Yeah,
I know I would.
Yeah. So, well, we're glad that you're here. Thanks for taking the time. Veterans Day is tomorrow.
Yes.
And it's just what a cool opportunity it is for us to kind of pause and take inventory a little bit and honor those people that serve. Now, you've not been live with us in the studio before.
No.
I mean, I think you were on maybe 2 different times. I'm trying to remember.
Just once.
Okay.
And
you were in the other room when we were kind of doing the remote COVID thing.
That's right.
So, yeah, but no, thanks, Dean. And we've known each other for many years, but let's start with your story a little bit. Just briefly tell me when you served and what you did, and because I mean, and you and I, we've talked about having a much longer conversation, and I still want to do that because you have some really unique experiences.
Okay, so in 1983, I graduated from Prairie City High School, and I wanted to be a soldier. And my parents talked me into taking a year of college. So I came to Eastern Oregon University, State College at that time. So this was 1984. I was a freshman at Eastern. And there was an ROTC detachment there then. And so I became involved with that. And at some point, I actually got a 3-year scholarship, and I was now fully involved with the ROTC program. In 1987, I was commissioned as a second lieutenant. I graduated from Eastern, and I went to Fort Lewis initially, waiting for my flight school class to start. I'd been accepted into Army Aviation. So went to Fort Rucker, Alabama for my flight school. That was about a year and a little bit extra because I went on to learn to fly an advanced aircraft, which was the CH-47 Chinook. Mm-hmm. From there, I went to Fort Wainwright, Alaska for my first real assignment out of flight school was Fort Wainwright, Alaska. And that's where I really learned to fly in those conditions and in that environment. It's just incredible flying training and opportunities up there. So didn't get to stay in Fairbanks quite as long as I wanted because the war in the desert started, and they felt like Lieutenant Varney was critical for the war in the desert. So I left Fairbanks. It was 45 below zero. And I arrived in Dhahran, Saudi Arabia. And the high temperature I saw there was somewhere around 120 degrees. But did the war in the desert. We liberated Kuwait and the Kuwaiti people in an incredible coalition of forces. It was an amazing logistical, amazing military operation to witness. From there, I came back to Fort Hood, Texas, and almost immediately they deployed me to the jungles of Honduras, Central America, kind of that Central America area. Spent 6 months there, back to Fort Hood, spent a few years at Fort Hood, and then I got an opportunity to be a company commander of a Chinook company. It was 8 helicopters and 100 soldiers. And that assignment at Fort Sill, Oklahoma, flying the field artillery around by helicopter. That was where I ended my career.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna take just a break, one more short little break, and I'm gonna just adjust this camera so that because I want to hear more. I want to hear more of your story. So hang tight. We'll just be right back. I promise this will be just a short break.
Heading into the day on Thursday, mid to the upper 30s.
Want to keep yourself informed with relevant news and events in Eastern Oregon but don't have much time on your hands? Well, here on EOA Live, we pay attention to what's happening in Eastern Oregon and deliver the news in 2 minutes or less on our evening news roundup. You can expect to get your news delivered right to your Facebook and Instagram feed every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 6 p.m. We'll keep you in tune with Eastern Oregon, and you can count on that. EOA Live, your connection to Eastern Oregon. Now on Roku.
You were just...
Okay. All right. Hey, thanks.
Yeah.
So, so what you flew was these Chinook helicopters, which is, and describe what that looks like. People have seen them, but they probably don't know what that is.
Yeah. So the Chinook is really the largest helicopter in the Army's inventory, and it is that tandem rotor helicopter that you'll see. Sometimes we see them going over La Grande. A lot of them were in the Pendleton unit. Sometimes it's just transitioning Army helicopters coming through, but it's a 10,000 horsepower giant, and it's just a monster. Heavy lift. We can pick up incredible weight, carry internal loads, external loads, incredibly diverse, high altitude. It's an amazing aircraft. I think it's the greatest aircraft in the Army's inventory.
Well, of course you do.
A little partial.
Yeah. And it was funny. I was inside of one of those.
Yeah.
It's been several years now, but it literally just looks like a bus inside.
Yes.
I mean, it's just if it's long and skinny, if it had windows along the side, I mean, it's just the shape of a bus.
It is. Yeah. You don't realize how big they are even internally, but you can actually drive 2 Humvee vehicles, the Army's Humvees. You can drive in 2 of them inside that.
Wow.
Park them in there.
Wow. Well, cool. So let's just kind of shift a little bit and talk about just veterans in general.
Yeah.
Now that you left military life, you were a postman you were kind of looking to continue. I'm kind of fast forwarding through your story a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
You wanted to have a second career that was compatible with your
Federal service.
Right?
Right.
And so then you were a post, and you've been a local postman for how long? You just recently.
That was 24 years.
Wow.
As the letter carrier in LeGrand.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so now that you're separated a little bit from military service, kind of what's your, I don't know, are you able to, I don't know, do you have any thoughts? Because sometimes when you're, clearly when you're in something, you have no perspective.
Right.
It gives you an opportunity maybe to look at service in a different, I don't know.
Yeah.
What are some of the observations that you maybe come across?
Yeah. It's interesting that I don't really understand why, but from the earliest time I can remember, and I didn't have a lot of family members that were necessarily soldiers, but soldiers were always my hero. The first toy that I remember is my G.I. Joe. And him and I were inseparable. And it's interesting though, because I didn't really have a lot of family members that were necessarily military career guys or, in that field. So, but all the time growing up, I was interested in becoming a soldier. And when I did, and, you're in that mix, like you say, of course you associate with them and respect them. But now as I've stepped back away from the military and it's been some time, I think my respect and admiration has just grown because, and I was telling you guys earlier, I like to just in my free time read narratives of battles and Medal of Honor narratives, and I just enjoy hearing their story. And it's not just the bravery, courage element. It's the behind the scenes elements that I respect. The humility that you see in a veteran, typically, the caring and the compassion that they exhibit. And so it's these behind the scenes attributes that I've come to now really reflect on and just admire and respect all the more in this absence.
I think, it's kind of one of the interesting things is those people like yourself who chose military as a career, and then those people that were just drafted, and we see that a ton in the World War II vets,
right,
and clear through Vietnam, where you have these men and women who, mostly men, just because of that time, but men who, military wasn't really their career at all.
Right.
But because of the draft, they were kind of pressed into it. And so you have a little bit more normal, not that you're not normal, but a little bit more common
off the street
citizens, that were kind of pressed into service. And some of those people were required to do extraordinary things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like right from the farm to to me, the level of patriotism that said, this is what we're doing. I'm going to drop my tools and I'm going to just walk in there. But even at home, the Rosie the Riveter, she dropped what she was doing and she took up the jobs that the men were doing.
Right.
And so across the nation, it was this idea that, this is what we're doing. And I'm going to do my part. I'm going to play my part. Even my grandparents, who were older at the time, were doing recycling and, war drives. And it was just amazing. So, yeah, it's just they came out of what they were doing. They became part of a cohesive team, and they went for 3 years in just incredibly difficult circumstances.
And I'm trying to think of, the landscape of our lives is so different now in the sense of it's fragmented. I'm trying to, would it even be possible to bring the nation together like what, what brought the nation together in 1941, I think is when Pearl Harbor was, and we're coming up on that anniversary. When it was bombed was that it was this tremendous tragedy. It was this tremendous offense. And that kind of unified the entire country.
Yeah.
And so, and that unification, then whenever you have a team, then you sacrifice as a team. It's a lot easier to personally sacrifice because everyone is suffering or sacrificing in some manner. I don't know. Can you see that happening?
Well,
in our day and age,
I was skeptical, I think, and I always thought I should have been born in the World War II era. I just respect and admire that generation so much, and I still do. But in 1990, when I was sent to Desert Storm, I kind of saw a little revival of that unity. And the whole nation. Lee Greenwood did that.
Right. Proud to be an American.
Proud to be an American. Yeah. And I felt it. That our nation, and I felt the coalition that I spoke of, where other nations that saw the wrong that had been committed, they saw a tyrant that it was just pushing a weaker nation around, and this coalition of even Arab nations joined us. And so I saw a unity develop there that actually I was a little surprised by, but I think it's possible. It's just finding yourself in a place of desperation where your survival depends on your unity finally. And I think then we would, know, but if we're just in a relaxed atmosphere, I think we're prone to this continued division.
Yeah.
Which, as a patriot, for me, that I love difference of opinion and diversity, but when it starts to divide my nation so much that it weakens us as a nation, then I'm troubled by it. So it's that finding that line, I think, for me.
Well, and I think that the times were different. Part of World War II caused national sacrifice.
Yeah.
Because if you study it, and this, the United States was arrogant. They were not prepared for a world war.
A little bit isolated.
And so then the national sacrifice is that all of, those companies that were producing cars had to be converted to produce military equipment, and those jobs that, and so there was a national movement, and it, a lot of people don't know this unless you've studied it. It took a couple of years for the United States to prepare the infrastructure. They call that, you woke the sleeping giant, and that very much is exactly what happened.
Right.
But that spooling up took a lot of national sacrifice.
Yes.
Where now, like you think of Desert Storm and what you were involved in there, you know, that reaction kind of came out of the United States actually being pretty prepared for that type of
I think so.
reaction,
Yeah.
you know. And so that war went on, and the only thing that we really realized, those of us that were here, was the images that were on the, I mean, we saw images on the TV that we had never seen before, you know. I mean, the camera on the nose of a guided missile. Yeah. Yeah. So, but we really didn't go through the national sacrifice that those people that went through World War II did.
Yeah. You're right.
Yeah. Well, fascinating. Well, you have been studying. Tell me about this. You have been studying about a vet, and just so you folks know, we really tried to have. I really worked at trying to have find a World War II vet and join us this morning, and we still just want to do that at some point, because those first person account stories are just
amazing,
unbelievable. Yeah. And it's from a time that we have no connection to, really, other than somebody telling us those stories. I mean, we can read about them and stuff, but there's nothing like, I have a dear friend who just passed this last year, and I think he would have been 96.
Okay.
And he was in the Battle of the Bulge, and to hear him tell those stories, but he was a musician. He was a music professor and was pressed into service. Yeah. And so it was just but anyhow, but you have been studying. Tell me about this person that you've been.
Well, yeah. So I mentioned I like to read narratives of battles, particularly Medal of Honor citations and narratives, the stories around those. And as I was doing that recently, I ran into an individual named Tibor Rubin, and he was a Medal of Honor winner. And but his story is so much more involved than that, because he was a Holocaust survivor, and it was so, the depth of his story was what intrigued me so much. You know, if you know a Holocaust survivor, that's amazing.
Right, that is.
And you want to talk to them about it, and you want to hear their story. I'm just interested in history, I guess, anyway, but I want to talk to that person because that's amazing. But if you have a Holocaust survivor and a Medal of Honor winner, and then his story just evolves into these other amazing things. And the more I read about him, and the more I studied about Tibor Rubin, the more I just became, amazed. And the more, and it for me, it was a reminder of his attributes are what I respect of our veterans today, and I was reading something as I was reading these narratives that they did kind of some surveys, and for the guys and gals that won the Medal of Honor that received it posthumously, they interviewed their fellow soldiers, and they came up with 5 attributes that are most commonly shared by Medal of Honor recipients. And the first one is the obvious one. It's bravery or courage. They demonstrate the attribute of bravery and courage. But the next 4 that were the most common kind of surprised me, and I was intrigued by it, because it's their patience. They exhibit patience commonly. They have a high degree of compassion, typically, and caring. And they exhibit a high degree of humility. And then lastly, they are just typically very selfless people. And for me, those last 4 attributes, Tibor Rubin just exemplified, and that is first and foremost, I think, what I respect in our veterans today. But for Tibor Rubin, he was a Hungarian Jew born in 1929. He was 10 years old when World War II started. And when he was 13, now he and his family were rounded up and sent to a concentration camp. And I didn't know this, but I thought his entire family perished at this concentration camp where they were sent initially. It was called Mauthausen, and it was located in Austria. But as I was studying a little bit more, he verbalized in a video, actually, that his family was sent from Mauthausen to Auschwitz concentration camp. And that's where they all perished.
Wow.
His mother and his father and 2 sisters.
Wow.
But he remained at Mauthausen. And Mauthausen was a work camp. And so, but it wasn't, I mean, I think they estimated 130,000 people died there. And so you were just systematically either starved or worked to death.
Right. Wow.
But in May of 1945, American soldiers liberated Mauthausen. It was the 11th Armored Division.
Wow.
He said they broke down the gate with a Sherman tank.
Huh.
And they came into that camp, and he was amazed at their compassion.
Wow.
And he was just, and he said to all of the people, they were picking them up because they couldn't walk or they were too weak. They were cleaning them. They were carrying them. And he was just impacted by that, by those soldiers.
Mm-hmm.
He right then and there dedicated his life. He said, one day I will be, and I had to laugh at his terms because he said, I will be a G.I. Joe.
Huh. Interesting.
And he would later become a soldier.
Huh. So how did he get from there to serving? Yeah.
Yeah. So it would take him 5 years. He left that. He survived. They found an emaciated 15-year-old boy named Tibor Rubin there.
Huh.
And they just gave him this idea. He just said, I have a debt to pay.
Huh.
That was his word. And he said, one day I will be an American soldier. And so 5 years later, Tibor Rubin sailed into New York Harbor. And it took him 2 years to master the English language well enough to pass the Army's entrance exam or entrance qualification. And but he would really just about in time for the Korean War. His goal was to serve with American soldiers fighting in Germany, or the Germans. Right. But just the timing of it, the war had ended really only 4 months before he was liberated from Mauthausen. So he ended up serving in the Korean War, and that's where he really, I think, in his mind, fulfilled the promise or tried to repay this debt that he felt.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. Very cool. We can put up. So here's his picture. And then is this the book?
This is the book that is the biography. And I've ordered this book, and I just downloaded this picture of it for people. And I just really wanted to encourage people to read about this story. Most people probably haven't heard Tibor Rubin.
Right, I haven't. Yeah.
And this story, he was in Korea. He was recommended not once, but 4 times for the Medal of Honor.
Wow.
He just distinguished himself above and beyond. And this book kind of will take you through that story.
Wow.
And I've ordered it. It's in hardcover. It's going to have a place of prominence in my library.
Yeah.
And I will do a book report on it later, but I just know enough about his story to just be in awe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, very cool.
Yeah.
Well, Dean, thank you so much. And, thank you for your service and what you did. And I really want to have, we've been talking, you and I have been talking offline about you sharing some of your stories and having some longer conversations, because you've got some phenomenal stories and a picture. You showed me a picture not too long ago of the tail end of the Chinook. Was it just dipping in the water, or trying to remember? Yeah.
Partially submerged in Lake Yehoa in Central America.
Yeah. Yeah. So craziness. Yeah. I mean, just the ability to the experiences that you've had. And not only that, but just I appreciate you as a person.
Thank you.
Appreciate the relationship that we have, and thanks so much for being here. And maybe I just would love it if we could connect with some other veterans.
I would too.
Have them on the stage here, and be able to talk and share some of those stories. And thanks for taking the time to be here.
It's my privilege and my honor, and I salute the veterans, and I don't take my freedom for granted.
Yeah. Thank you. And I think the Veterans Day is this Friday, and the parade. No,
no, I'm telling you to keep your hands down.
Oh, I'm sorry, because
you're going right in his face.
Like, yeah.
That's my signal.
The Veterans Day is this Friday, and I think the Veterans Day parade
11.
Is it 11 o'clock?
Should be,
yeah, downtown. So I will be out of town that day. Is that tomorrow?
Tomorrow.
That is tomorrow. I'm sorry, my life is just upside down right now. So be sure and come downtown tomorrow at 11 and support the veterans. Thank you so much. We'll be right back. All right, we're back.
We're back.
Cool stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Technical difficulties.
Oh my gosh, we're just like,
I'm over here like,
yes.
And you're like looking at me like, what?
So for those that don't know, so our center camera for some reason keeps disconnecting from the computer in the back room, and so then we took a break, and I had the camera that's pointed at Dodsey, I pointed at Dean so that we could get through the interview.
Which also cuts right over the top of you. So every time you put a hand gesture, it's like in his face.
But there are times when you get excited when you'll put your hand in front of my camera.
Well, then your camera's too close.
Yeah, see right there.
Yeah. Well, but this is an everyday setup.
No, I know. Yeah, it's all right. It's just that is the life of live stuff, which is what we do. We do live. So
ready for this day?
Yeah, get us out of here, man.
Today, November 10th. On this day, November 10th, 1775, the Second Continental Congress forms the Continental Marines, the precursor to the United States Marine Corps. And so today is the United States Marine Corps birthday.
Wow. 1775, is that what you said?
1775. So what is that? 247 years.
So they were formed before the Declaration of Independence was ratified, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, yeah. What year?
1776 is when, I don't.
Yep. 1908 on this day, the first Gideon Bible was put in the hotel room.
Yeah.
1908. I don't know if they do that anymore.
They do.
Well, the hotels I stay at, I haven't found them. I'll look. That's just like one of those things, like.
Well, I don't, I guess I should say, I don't, the Gideons are still very active, whether they put them in the hotels or not. I don't know.
I'll bet you didn't know this. 1940 on this day, Walt Disney began serving as an informant for the FBI in Los Angeles.
Who? Walt
Disney.
Did?
His job was to report back information on Hollywood subversives.
Wow, 1940.
Yeah, he was an FBI informant.
Right.
That's crazy. Huh?
That is. Yeah.
Like, you're Walt Disney. What? Like, and I guess in 1940 he wasn't. Well, yeah. I mean, 1940 he was a big time player.
Yeah.
1951 on this day, the first long distance telephone call without operator assistance. 1951 on this day. 1969 on this day, Sesame Street premiered on PBS.
Huh.
Sesame Street. And then 2020. What do you think the word of the year was in 2020? According to Collins English Dictionary. What was the word of the year in 2020?
Unprecedented.
Lockdown. It was. It really was. It was lockdown.
Lockdown.
Yeah. Isn't that that's crazy, huh? Lockdown. Who would have ever thought that?
Yeah.
The number one song on this day in 1982. Up Where We Belong.
Oh,
Joe Crocker and Jennifer
Joe
Lawrence.
Crocker. Yeah.
I'm sure you rocked out to that.
We belong.
And the quote for the day is Venus Williams. Just believe in yourself. Even if you don't, pretend that you do. And at some point you will. Just believe in yourself. Even if you don't, pretend that you do. And at some point you will.
That's a fake it till you make it.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Tomorrow night, 6 o'clock. We'll probably go live at about 5:45, maybe a little before. LeGrand Pendleton Community Stadium. Get up there and support them if you can't. Watch it on EOA Live.
Yeah. Big
Oh,
game.
it's on Roku too.
Yep.
And if you have problems, just talk in the chat and I'll walk you through getting on Roku.
Yep. Big game.
Yep, big game. I accidentally hit that Medal of
That's
Honor
all right.
picture again.
Thank you all. See you
See
soon.
you Tuesday.